A skinny man sits by a river, poisoned with blood and the bodies of the dead and rotting. He wastes his life away in a boring and brutal abyss filled with mountains of decaying families. His name is Hades. The nights are an unsettling shade of dark, and the days are often gray and full of rain. The drawing of straws has decided his fate and condemned him to a newfound realm, one that will adopt his name. It's a place on earth, but a place so far from other living people it was considered otherworldly. It quickly became a legend, simply an allegory or a reflection of our long-forgotten ignorance on the subject of death, a place never assumed to be real. A mass grave once planned to be civil and organized has gotten out of hand over the centuries. With no concept of cremation, our ancestors were forced to find a spot to put their dead, sometimes in bulk. It was a dark and massive cave system on the other side of the known world. If you sail west into the setting sun, a boat ride into nothing would eventually lead you to what most people referred to as the land of the dead. The bodies are piled in the high thousands, and they make up every previous living person on Earth. The landscape is littered with everything from the dry and hollowed bones of the nameless from centuries ago to those fresh off the boat still cold and wet. Rolling hills of mounds of bodies, broken skulls, severed fingers, tongues, and eyes are plentiful and can be found throughout the landscape. What little light that pierces through does its justice against the natural pitch black of this unhospitable environment. And through the winding rivers of aisle and sadness you'll witness people in all stages of human decomposition. Legends say no animals go on the island because of the smell. A never-ending river of bodies fills his abode, but the king of the underworld still feels alone. There is no one, only wandering souls in the nameless masses. Hades' new existence is dark and bleak. He thinks of his old home that he was forced to abandon, a distant realm thought of now as a different lifetime. Over across the water where the sun rises, he swears their city is made of gold, where people can live forever and gods take human form. In this ever-persistent darkness, his origins from the land of light seem more like a confusing dream than a daunting memory. For those who wander in the city made of people, every step will be on the body of a late person, someone who once said a story that is now long forgotten. And as the rain falls on the island, it leaks in from above, almost as if the water was looking for the lost souls in the countless bodies that seemed to fill every crevice of the deep and dizzying maze of caves. The odor of death and decay hangs in the air, thick like a visible gas, creating a grim atmosphere of depression, discomfort, and hatred. Each hesitant breath coats the nose and mouth in a thick human paste, tasting of burnt maggots bathing in excrement and blood. It seeps and trickles through the labyrinths of catacombs, fissures, cracks, and holes. The pathways seem to wind on forever, and the pain seems to have no end. Tunnels of waist-deep water that hold bobbing bodies. They flow up and down with the motion of more lifeless men and women arriving to their final somber refuge. More of the forever sleeping to join in the slumber. It's a literal hell on earth filled with rivers and caves of winding darkness and paths that lead to nowhere. Hallways of darkness that seem to hold options or hope of escape, but all paths are perilous. Those living in the underworld will wander its corridors, but all will become lost. Each direction is an exhausting descent that mostly leads to dead ends. Your path will most likely be blocked by a wall of stone or bones. Or even worse, there are paths that continue forever into the darkness. Little do they know there will never be a light at the end of their narrowing tunnel. There are crawl spaces where bodies can barely fit, teasing you with the outside world. It seems so close if you could only squeeze through. Countless have seen these opportunities as too tempting not to try, but they end up as contorted figures who died in tight spaces as they tried to force themselves through what they couldn't. Bodies jammed into cracks, people stuffed perilously into narrow passages. So many got so close, but they end up all maimed, stuck up the wall, wedged with broken bones, smashed limbs, halfway up the ceiling, stranded where they scream and starve. There are sheer cliffs that lead into vertical darkness, and the most promising escapes are rooms that are filled with water. They get deeper with each step, inviting you to drown. These lakes are now with an insipid liquid of human waste and decay, and the bodies spew together as the rain and time molds of the souls into a mass of molten corpses. They no longer seem human. The flies can be seen and heard. It's a realm so foul its mere existence has fallen into the stuff of myth and legend, a haunting fable uttered on the lips of people who speak of this realm and its inhabitants without knowing the words they speak are echoing from a sad and distant truth.